Good morning, and we will start. When you go for a buffet or a dinner, the last thing which you enjoy is the sweetness. This is what all of us learned when we were child. A segment, a line. We were never taught the reality, which is this. We all know segment, we all know a line. Now that's what my book is all about. Black box thinking. What does the book actually taught me a lot? So when we look at success, when the organizations look at success, they look as a straight line. That's what, as I mentioned, we looked at kids. The reality is, if you look at to the right slide of the image which I have shown, this is Mission Mangal. It just couldn't go from Earth to Mars in a straight line. It had to rotate, it had to rotate, it had to fail. Only then it had to go. So Matthew Syed has actually got in details and saying, do you have a black box thinking? A recently Nepal plane crashed, and that's why I wrote the book review. What makes airline industry so successful? I had a fear of flying. I don't fear of flying at all right now because the chance of death is 0.001%. What makes this industry so stark? Why is healthcare industry so bad? These examples I have applied to my real life. So I look at myself as pre 2015 versus pre 2021. So this is a story of a guy called Albert. He was cycling and he falls down. And he comes to mama and says, Papa and Mama, I've done a wrong thing. मैंने एक साइकिल गलत चलाई आज. But he learned. There's a very famous saying called अक्कल बादाम खाने से नहीं ठोकर खाने से आती है. We all learn by mistakes. That's a core crux of these books. Do you want to embrace failure? The child embraces failure. Albert knows that next time he has to pedal at a certain speed. Albert knows that when he sees a red sign at the signal, he has to put both his legs down. He has learned. He has learned by mistakes. But the same Albert has now grown up and is trading in stock markets and he continues to make losses. Why? So here is the three essence I want to share. What are the causes of failure? So when Albert has become big, he's got something known as fixed mindset. This is what it happens. That's how the user wants. That's how my boss says. That's how my wife says. That's how it should run. So it becomes an autopilot because he stops getting new things in the memory. The same Albert loses money in stock markets. That's for the very famous statement I mentioned by Nitin Kamath. Just 1% of the traders make money more than fixed deposits. It's if information is the only key, then all of us here would have had six-pack abs and all of us would have become billionaires. It is not information. It is deciphering the information, looking at the information, analyzing, and most important, documentation and coming out openly and say. Now imagine, let's go back here. One of the famous plane crashes in history, Concorde plane crash. They actually went deep dive studying what happened to Concorde. There was no blame game. They say, okay, we will investigate, we will go in details and come back. This one metal strip led to the crash of Concorde and they have stopped after that. That's how they go deep dive. They want to study hard. They want to really understand. Now let's look at a movie called Ankur Arora Murder Case, a very famous Hindi Bollywood movie where the child expires. But the same guy will not come and tell in publicly what mistakes he has done. Key takeaways. First fundamental key takeaways what he says. Do we embrace stillness? Do we embrace failures? As kids, we have nothing to worry. We will tell all our mistakes to our parents. But as we become older and as we become large organizations and as we start sacking people globally in the tech company, we will not come and say actually what went wrong in the good days. We don't want to embrace that part of the failure. We want to say, hey, the going has been tough, but what mistakes did we do is never acknowledged. And that's where, so the same company called Google, which the author has given example, has taken minute information like what color I should use. But I'm surprised and appalled how they failed when they hired additional 12,000 staff. It's embracing failure. Now, what causes failure? And what can actually you gain from movies? So there's a lovely movie called Chak De India. If each one would have seen by Shah Rukh Khan. Marginal gains. He says, okay, what can I do to make the team win? I just have to make small improvements. Marginal gains. The author says, Matthew, every plane crash gives you more information. What should we do next? What should we do? How should we proceed? Marginal gains. Success is never overnight. Like Hindustan Lever faced a problem with the nozzle. They say, okay, the nozzle is not giving the right output. How should I make it better? They had 5,000 trials. Dyson, a great vacuum cleaner kind of a company, changed the fortune. They had 5,000 prototypes. So unless you start embracing failure, unless organizations comes and says on every Monday morning, hey friends, what are the mistakes done this week? People will never be open. It's a sad story right now. So it's I see it very often in India. Being out of job is a crime, but in US, being out of job is absolutely fine. So that's how two organizations, two cultures run. That's what Matthew Syed says. Embrace failure, embrace failure. Last and not the least, he says go back and document your mistakes. In a plane crash, it's all open in the public forum. Should know the reason of Nepal plane crash very soon. You will know what happened in the California plane crash, but never with the healthcare industry, never with organizations, never with companies who sack people. So unless you can admit, but admitting is the first step. Reading is the first step. Acknowledgement is the first step. The intent is documentation. Can you document those mistakes openly and publicly to your team? Things will become far, far better. That's why he says in the end, flying is the safest mode of transport and not anyone else. So embrace failure, and most important, if you have not committed mistakes, there's a crime you are doing yourself. That's it from my side. Embrace failure.